All the Upanishads are likened to a cow. A cowherd boy is Krishna. Arjuna, Path, is the cow. People of purified intellect are the drinkers of the milk, and the milk is the supreme nectar of the Bhagavad Gita. Chapter 6, verse 10. We are going to discuss today the substructures of the mind. We have seen in the previous verses that there is a state of yoga wherein the yogi becomes same-sighted. And what is same-sightedness? That person sees everyone and everything, good or bad or indifferent, whatever, as that same reality. So that person is not looking at the differences that are apparent, but looking down deeper into the heart of everyone and seeing that same reality. That person becomes same-sighted. So how do you acquire that excellent, you can say, state, this excellent result of yoga? So this verse speaks of the practice. Since I'm going to discuss the substructures of the mind, we will just take this one verse today and I will discuss what the mind is made of. A yogi should constantly concentrate the mind by staying in a solitary place, alone, with the mind and body controlled, free from expectations and free from acquisition. Yogi unjita satatam atmanam rahasi stita ekaki yata chittatma nirashira parigraha. Yeah, so the yogi, the person wants to be a yogi. Who is a yogi? That person who practices yoga and has attained the state of yoga. And yoga, as we have seen, is, according to the Bhagavad Gita, is samatvam, sameness. That person acquires that sameness. Is that the only thing? What about the powers? So, though yoga discusses these various powers that arise in the mind, because the mind has tremendous powers, we are hardly aware of them. These mental powers it has not been discussed anywhere else but in the philosophy of yoga. We will discuss it when we come to that particular verse. So that person acquires all these great spiritual powers by practicing certain things. Now, the first verse is the yogi should constantly practice here. Constantly? What do you mean constantly? We thought it was morning and afternoon and evening or night or whatever, morning and evening. Sometimes we feel like it, sometimes we don't feel like it. We'll do it according to our moods. But here the instruction is clear, constantly. Does that person doesn't even take rest? Concentration itself is a perfect rest of the body and mind. People think concentration, yes, it takes so much energy. Yes, you invest that energy in concentration and it forms a loop, it comes back to you, redoubled. And then you reinvest that energy in the concentration and come back to you. You make a loop. And that becomes finer and finer and greater. It is because we are restless, the mind is so restless, we feel tired. And we think, oh, concentration also must be very bothersome and tiresome. And no, it's exactly opposite of restlessness. So the yogi, when the yogi is constantly practicing concentration, that person is full of energy. That person is focused. And everything else kind of falls away. When we talk about this constantly, is this mind so distracted? Yes, the mind is constantly distracted. And what is technically it is called in Yoga Sutras, Yoga aphorisms as Vyuthana, the disturbed states, disturbed impressions. And the other is Yoga impressions and the disturbed impressions in the mind. So these impressions in the mind, how many are there? Oh, there are millions and millions and millions. But they are they form a class by themselves. I will give you a few structures and then we will see how those particular mental impressions coalesce in those particular fields. Swami Vivekananda gives the example of pigeonholing. I see something, I experience something, and I pigeonhole it, and that becomes a kind of a memory bank for me. And then I extract it from there and use it. So the pigeonholing is something like that. So what are the pigeonholes? Are there pigeons there? No, there are no pigeons. But there are these substructures in the mind. So when you say yogi yunjita satatam, the yogi practices constantly concentration. And stays alone. Rahasi sita ekaki, stays alone. But why? Why can't the yogi be everywhere? In the initial days, in the initial period of yoga, you've got to take yourself away a little, especially when you're practicing such yoga. In the practice of karma yoga or bhakti yoga, you don't need to do that. You need to, but to a certain extent, not to the extent in which this particular form of yoga is practiced. Because this guy is in a hurry. He's going to take, I'll take my time, no problem. No, this guy is really serious. His intent on understanding the mind and breaking some of these structures. Or rather, having a mastery over these structures. The moment you have a mastery over these structures, you will have a mastery over those impressions that are there attached to those structures. So the condition first is given is the person's body and the mind should be controlled. Okay, we can understand physiology, control, sit down quietly, don't move. Okay. Yeah. But then again we look here, there. Oh my God. There's an ice cream truck there going on. So, physical, you can say, control is much easier. But when it comes to the staying alone and controlling the mind is difficult. Why? Because when you are alone, all those old devils will come out of the mind. Those guys who are sitting down there, they'll get the immediate chance. Oh yeah, Now we will show what this whole business of yoga is. That person becomes so frightened. The problem is we don't want to stay alone. We can't stay alone because of all those impressions that are fizzling and popping and exploding inside. So this mind, as you know, the brain itself, the mind itself has evolved. We talk about the physical evolution. It has taken millions and millions and millions and millions of years till we have come to here. This we can understand. I mean, it's science. And if you see the structure of the brain itself, that also tells you, yes, it's a product of a long evolution. We have the reptilian brain, and then we have the, you can say, limbic system, the animal brain, or whatever you can say, and then you have the human brain, the neocortex, and all these things. One brain sitting above the other. It's kind of a graded, you can say, structure. So those same structures are also in the mind. The mind also has evolved. Language and ethics and all these things have made the mind evolve. Now, these yogis, when they started studying the structures of the mind, they found, apart from the external, you can say, brickwork, there are so many things within. So the first thing they say that the mind and the environment, obviously, it interacts. Both are necessary for evolution, because in Indian philosophy, the external world is an extension of your own selves, of our own minds. If the senses and the mind was not designed to apprehend or grasp these objects wouldn't even have existed. And, like take for example the eye. The eye just developed in humans in such a remarkable degree. Of course, there are beings which even with a heightened sense of vision. But our vision also developed because of to see that I remain safe from the predators. And that is how slowly my vision developed. Light and this, to catch the light and all these things. But the idea is this interaction has always been there with the external world. The mind interacting with the external world to the senses. So the first, you can say, category of these structures, which has been enumerated in the Rasa Shastra of Bharata, in the field of drama and aesthetics, they have really fine-tuned all these things. They were first discovered long time ago. These are called dispositional states. Disposition in the sense of the characteristic, the attitude, the mental, you can say, state of a particular thing, a habit. These are called dispositional states. So these dispositional states is called a vibhava. The first is when it interacts with the external world. The external world acts like a catalyst and awakens certain things. So there are two factors here. Either a person might come and say, oh, you're a fool. And I might get, oh, what's that? Oh, I might see an object. Oh, it's a cat. Oh, right. Or the very environment, I go near the beach or in the mountains, up the environment is. So the external world affects these states of the mind. They are called a vibhava. We will come down to what exactly. They are the excitatory factors, the external world. People, places, things. They excite certain moods in me, dispositions in me. And then we have something called, once those excitatory things or the stimulus comes in, there is a natural reaction to it. And the reaction comes in two ways. Either through speech, oh, this is nice, oh, that's bad, and this, or through my body language. Now these two things, they are called anubhava. So vibhava and anubhava. Okay? We'll take this up slowly because it has a lot of, you can say, categories here. Just again, vibhava is that the external world, and anubhava is that which is my own reaction. So I react through speech and through my body because I'm an embodied being. So my body language, and this is a big science now, studying the body language, etc. There are certain things, even without or with the other external things mentioned above, there are some kind of involuntary emotions, involuntary dispositional states. So they are, I see something and it's kind of get into a kind of paralysis, paralyzes me. Then there is perspiration, there is horripilation, the tone of my voice changes, change in a voice. If I see something and I'm frightened, I become pale, change in color. Then trembling, weeping, and swooning. These are involuntary things. We do not know when these things are overtaking us. Because most of the things that come to us from the external world, most of it is subliminal. They come down from the threshold of consciousness. We might be looking at a particular thing. Take for example, I'm looking at a particular thing. But suddenly I'm acutely aware of somebody looking at me or staring at me from a distance. And then say, oh. And then I start trembling. Or maybe I start sweating. So this stimulus comes both consciously as well as subconsciously. It is these things are involuntary, they happen to you. Your body is in that fight or flight or freeze mode. So does the mind affect the body? Oh yes, the body affects the mind affects the body. At this level of interaction, the world interacts with the body interacts with the senses, and senses interact with the mind, and this whole thing, this process gives us this. Then we come down to some scholars talk about 30 substructures. They are these transitory substructures in the mind. They are called a vyabhichari bhava. Okay. So what are these? Nirveda. That is, I'll stick to the English. I won't burden you with Sanskrit terms. It's kind of getting away, no interest. There's nothing. That kind of a renunciation type. I don't know. I have got no interest in the particular thing. And then fatigue. Somehow that fatigue just comes over me. I'm doing certain things and the fatigue comes over me. Even the greatest thing that I'm doing, it fatigues me after a while. So there's lack of interest, fatigue, doubt, shanka, or apprehension. is this person or is this thing really what it appears to be? We always doubt. This is a part of the mind, structure of the mind. Doubt. And then envy. Because we keep on judging things and we see a particular thing which is nice, oh, we become envious. So envy also is a structure. And then when we get envious, or we get angry, or we get a kind of happy, there is a kind of an intoxicating feeling in the mind itself, because it becomes so absorbed in the particular thing. It becomes attached and becomes weak. There's a kind of an intoxication to that. You don't need external things to intoxicate you. The mind itself, there's a structure in the mind that intoxicates you. You see people staring at a particular thing as if transfixed. Yeah, they're kind of intoxicated, they're held by that. Then, when you're doing something, apart from the fatigue, there's a kind of a weariness, there's a kind of, oh, I'm weary of this thing. You do the best thing, or you do the worst thing, or you do something indifferent, a kind of a weariness comes in. Oh, tired of this, I want to get away from this. Yeah. You go to a party and then everybody's talking, laughing, and then you become weary of it. And when I get out of this. That also is the structure of the mind. And then indolence, alasya, indolence. We are sitting and we are supposed to meditate, and then we become indolent. Oh, God is looking at me. And if I'm not looking at God, God is looking at me, I become indolent. So, depression. That is another structure of the mind. And then anxiety. Oh yes, we become anxious for certain things, and we know how these anxiety attacks are. It comes without warning at times. It comes sometimes as a result of your doing something, but sometimes it comes just by itself. When did this thing come? Why am I anxious? Then I pop a little few pills to clear my anxiety. But there you are getting caught up. So anxiety is a structure or substructure of the mind. Then we know distraction. We want to do certain things and suddenly the mind becomes distracted. There we are. How do you control all these things? Distraction is, everybody is distracted. That I'm doing a particular thing, I'm reading something, some other thought comes in my mind, I recollect something else. I'm meditating and something else comes. Oh, that was a pleasant picnic I had. Oh, what am I doing sitting down here? That thought comes and saying, yeah, recollect now and enjoy. You had a fine picnic there. Recollection. It's called smriti. Then, no, we will not do that. Yes, we are supposed to meditate. Then comes dhriti, willpower. No, the fortitude. Come, we must. I should not do this. You pull yourself back. That is also a substructure of the mind. And then, shame. We do something and we feel so ashamed of ourselves. How did I say that? How did I do that? Certain memories makes you grimace and makes you kind of wince at times. How did I say that? How did I do that? My God, how stupid I was. Shame. Shame also is a part of that substructure, this substructure. Restlessness, obviously. We are told to sit down quietly, and we sit down quietly. After a while, the mind becomes restless. It does not want you to sit down quietly. The restlessness is the nature of the mind. Even Arjuna, in this particular chapter, you will talk, oh, chanchalam hi mana Krishna. The mind is restless. chapalata, chanchalata. Then delight. Oh my God. We get delight in nice things, we'll get delight in stupid things also. It's delightful. Something that turns a person off, some other person gets delight in it. A person is walking down the street, slips and has a fall, and some person looking at it get delighted. They make a joke about it. Oh, delightful. So delight. Yeah. And then excitement. Okay. And people exploit this kind of structure, titillate those particular things. Excitement. You must have some excitement in life. What is the life without excitement? Okay. Have this new type of, you can say, cookie, and you'll be excited about it. Then there's something called a brain fog. Dullness. Oh. The brain simply refuses to kind of snap back into action. You're working and then there's a kind of fog all around, and the dullness, you feel blunt. Everything, your faculties are blunted. Arrogance. Oh my God. Oh, people don't have anything but they're so arrogant. Why? We don't know. Arrogance. Longing. I want this particular thing. I waited for it for 20 years. Now I got it. Longing. Who told you to wait for 20 years? Longing. And then stupefaction. The stupor. You do something over and over again and you become kind of stupefied with that. A kind of a stupor comes over you, and stupefaction. You just can't get out of it. Then you're sitting nicely doing nothing, but suddenly you feel a kind of a reeling in your head and you feel faint. You're meditating and you feel a kind of a reeling in your head. Oh, maybe now the Divine Mother is coming. No, it's just a reeling of your mind. So this is also, it's called a fit. It's a fit. You're sitting down and then you start daydreaming. What if I was in California, here in a storm-bound place? You have cold and sleet and everything is so freezing, and you start daydreaming. I wish I was in California. There you are, daydreaming. That's another substructure of the mind. Interest. You get interest in certain things. That also. Then, even if you're angry, you restrain your anger. That itself is another. Because in society, you just cannot display your anger and hatred and all these things whenever you feel like it. So you restrain yourself. That anger, that's restraint. And you're boiling inside. I wish I could give that guy a punch on the nose, but I can't do that. So I'm boiling inside. So that anger, restraint, anger. Then I know that I can deceive people. I can say one thing and mean something else. I can deceive people. Deception. Yeah, that also is there. And sometimes even timid people become so ferocious. Yeah. My God, how ferocious that person is. Even a cat, small cat, so nice, but at times it becomes ferocious. And imagine human beings. So it becomes ferocious, that also. Then there are times when you are deep in thought. It's called actually mati. Thinking. You think correctly. And you get absorbed in that those structures. That's called my deep thought. And then, the body is subject to hundreds of things. Something or the other is always making the body react, your immune system or whatever, and makes you feel ill. Oh, I've got a fever, I've got a cold, I've got this, I'm not feeling well. Illness. Illness also is a substructure, of the mind. And then you have panic. You have panic attacks. No. Why? I don't know what, but suddenly you get panicked. You get a panic attack. And then there's something called using bad rules of logic. It's called a vitarka. Tarka is logic, vitarka is bad logic. To arrive at your conclusions, you use also bad logic. They say the end justifies the mean. So you do anything, whatever you have to say, I can attain that end. It's a bad logic. So using that kind of, you can say, argument, called vitarka, bad logic. And then temporary insanity. Most of us are crazy. Some people look at a crazy guy. Sometimes the actions smack of insanity. At times, why did I do a crazy thing like that? I do stupid things, I know, but I do also crazy things. Temporary insanity. Insincerity, my God. There also. Sometimes I'm not sincere. So these are called the Vyavichara bhava. The Sanskrit term Vyavichara means coming away from your normal things. That is, coming away abnormal things. Generally Vyavichara. But these are the dispositions that work along with the vibhava, anubhava, and you can say, the involuntary, you can say, actions, disposition. Sattvika bhava. So now we are caught up in all these structures of the mind. And so how we are speaking about the substructures of the mind. And then sometimes we come up, we look up, how do they manifest? Various, you can, every thought behind or every emotion has a trail of things, and it's like a train, if you have an engine and you have various kind of coaches, or we say compartments, and that train, the engine, is pulling all those coaches. Sometimes you have a huge, length of coaches being pulled and pulled. Every thought, every word, every action has behind it a trail. Swami Vivekananda, in one of his, quoting an English poet, trailing clouds of glory we come. Swamiji adds, trailing clouds of black fog also we come. We come in this world having long ages behind us, with immense work to be done, coming, weeping and wailing to fight our way through. So nothing is simple in this world. We think everything is simple. So that baby is so innocent. That baby will become a drug peddler later on. Do you know that? No. What made that guy a drug peddler? We never thought this guy would have become. So that baby looks so innocent, but baby has a past. And the baby also has a future. So nothing is simple. Once you look down in this world, you look down at the structure, then you understand, oh my God. So on each of these substructures, those memories, those samskaras of action, karma, are attached to it. The samskaras is the kind that we do a particular thing, an act by word, thought, anything, and it leaves an impression in our mind. So those impressions are teeming inside, but they have a kind of, there's a method to that madness inside. That the subconscious mind has got all those kind of huge, you can say, storage, extra storage. We have, our rooms are full now of things, now we will send it to that extra storage. And we will pay a kind of, even a premium for it at times. Extra storage space. We have one exactly opposite the street. But in the case of our mind, we cannot say extra space storage. No. Or you can go to the Lord and say, take this. Whatever I've done, whatever that, take this. Okay. And Sri Ramakrishna used to take it, And that's why, he suffered from various illnesses, diseases, because he took upon the sins of others. So, these souls, they have the capacity. So if you get somebody, you go on. Otherwise, you're imprisoned with all those states. So, these substructures, huge substructures, they form a kind of a scaffolding, and above this, what we actually see is 9 main dispositions. So first is love. Erotic or whatever love, it's love. Grief, shoka. Yeah. And then anger, krodha. My God, I get so angry. And then utsaha, energy. We find that we are energetic at certain parts of the time of the day and so, with certain people or certain things. So energy. Fear, bhaya. Yes, it's there. It's kind of a low intensity is there, and sometimes it just comes up. And then we laugh and we joke and we talk and hasya, humor. Otherwise life would have been terrible without all these things. And then certain things simply disgust us. Jugupsa. Disgusting. That's disgusting. And then we have something that always amazes us, that always keeps us in wonder, enthralled. Vismaya. And then we have something called, after the whole thing is over, you have something called, now I'm at peace, I'm shant. I am at peace. So, these are the substructures, and above these substructures, they are the secondary substructures, and the other structures above that are these 9, they are called bhavas, disposition. This has been discussed if you see in Indian drama, Indian literature, you find all these moods expressed. And the more literature can express all these moods, this disposition, that is what makes it invaluable, imperishable. So even in Bharatanatyam and all these things, you will have these kind of moods displayed. The expressions, the dancers will express this. They will bring out this expression. Raudra, anger, my God. So you will find these dispositions can be expressed because of the structures there. If these structures were not existent, you would never have been able to express all those kind of things. In drama, literature, movies or wherever, whatever. This has been made extensive use by these in the aesthetics field. It's called Rasa Shastra. It's also called the Fifth Veda. Everybody wants their Vedas to be the Fifth Veda. Ayurveda also says, ours is the Fifth Veda. The Rasa Veda. And there were really great sages, great thinkers who brought out all these. Bharata, of course, was there. And then we have also Abhinavagupta, who was also a great, you can say, he wrote a great treatise on aesthetics. To come down to the Gita, why is the Lord telling us, teaching us that the yogi will constantly concentrate? That is the only way to break all these structures. That's why in order to break all those dispositional states, all those emotional states, voluntary, involuntary, activated by the external world, by persons, place, things, everything can be broken through this constant practice of yoga. That's why I say yogi yunjita satatam. Constantly the yogi practice. There it is. Atmanam rahasi sthita. So here is translated. Should constantly concentrate on mind by staying in a solitary place. Now you know why that person has to disassociate himself or herself temporarily from all excitatory stimulus, from all stimulus, whether good, bad, everything, out. So on the banks of the river, in a cave, in a forest, in the old days, these yogis and yoginis, they used to go out there and practice away from all disturbing factors. This was the reason why. We don't know where something comes up and topples the whole thing. I'm sitting down to meditate and I see one person whom I don't like and then I get angry. There all my meditation goes away. So keep away. Ekaki, alone, yata chittatma, nirashir aparigraha, without any hope, without any expectation. I don't have any kind of anticipation for anybody or anything. I don't have any, can say, yeah, somebody will give me something and then I will be grateful. No. So it's like free from expectations and free from acquisitions. You don't try to acquire certain things, physical or mental. Keep things, I'm satisfied with myself. Why? Because I'm concentrating. At that concentration, what happens is you constantly are self-satisfied. Yastu Atma Ratirivasa, one whose delight is in the self. Atma Triptasya Mana, one who is actually, you can say, Ramana, in the sense of that person is always engrossed with the enjoyment of his own self. So this is a yogi should constantly concentrate the mind by staying in a solitary place, alone, with mind and body controlled. Yata chitta atma. Control the body and the mind. Nirashir, without expectation, without asha. Aparigraha, without any kind of waiting for something to come. So this is the, you can say, reason. It's not dislike for society or dislike for people and dislike for the world that drives a yogi towards such places and towards yoga. If you start your yoga practices with a disgust for the world, you've missed a mark. No, there are some people who, the world is a terrible place. It's a hell actually. Yeah. So what should I do? Well, I'll practice yoga. No, that won't do. You're carrying that hell along with you in that yoga practices. You have suddenly found a calling, a higher level of existence. And all of us intuit it now and then in our lives. There is something higher than this ordinary life of ours. What is this? Eating, drinking, sleeping, the same thing over again. There must be something higher. What is that? We all know. We cannot formulate it correctly, but we all have a feeling there has to be something more to life than this. This is what should call one towards yoga. Not a kind of terrible. The world has scorched me. Now I'm going to practice yoga. No, it won't happen. So this is how a yogi. So that yogi is now breaking one substructure after another. That involuntary, you can say, dispositions which are found in my body, in the mind, that are controlled. Yata chitta atma. There is nothing involuntary that's going to happen. Yeah, a mosquito comes and I'll try to hit it. Involuntary. That yogi will not keep quiet. You don't have to even do that. His actions are all under his control. Voluntary or involuntary, all under control. What appears in the mind is also under the control. So that's why yogi yunjita sataranda. Yogi consciously practices. Okay. We stop here for now. I hope you had some glimmer of what structures are there in the mind and how they appear to us outside. So, like I said, every structure is like a kind of a pigeonhole where impressions, past impressions, coalesce. And when that particular emotion comes out, all those memories also come out. That, once you break the structure, the memories become disabled.
Good question.
Oh, there's a question. Okay, yeah.
It's about the structure of the mind. Is homosexuality another structure of the mind?
As far as I know, the scriptures do not speak about it. So if the scriptures do not speak about it, I'm at a loss to put my own interpretations.
Revere Maharaj, I love Bhakti Yoga and Dhyasa Bhava. Should I continue my bhava?
Oh yes, you must take up one bhava. Santa, Dasya, Vatsalya, Madhura, and all these bhavas like Sakya. These are all one bhava, that is one relationship with the divine. Please follow it. And see Dasya bhava of Hanumana. He got everything with that. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Shri Ram Krishna Arpanamastu. Tomorrow evening, of course, we have Living Wisdom, and after Vesper 7:30 by Atma Vidyananda and Atma Tattvananda, and Saturday morning 10 a.m. we'll continue a class on meditation skills for meditators. This is a series of 10 classes. We've just finished one. We'll take the second class Saturday, 10 a.m. Pacific time. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Oh, there. Yeah. I don't know if you all know about all these things, but I had to kind of put it out there. Yeah, these things are there.
Yeah, there's so many things.
Tattvavedanta uses one word which I like, divine discontent. Like you said, it's not out of like this
Yeah.
thing, but more of discontent of.
Yeah, it is actually, it